there is so much to get into this afternoon, and I've been up all night. So if I'm a little all over the place, you won't mind too much if I just talk, get a few things off the chest, and then you can come on and tear me apart for it after. Because I do think this result, this seismic result, requires actually some home truths to be told. And I'll say up front that I really don't think you're going to like me very much, if at all, after this. But here goes. First thing to say is we called it. I said I thought he'd win. I highlighted Pinellas County, Florida, to you on a number of occasions as the early result to watch that would herald the result, and we got that right too. They voted for Trump. I mentioned to you what I thought was the huge significance of Trump's chat with Joe Rogan. I do think that made a difference. So, small pat on the back for us. The upshot this afternoon is this. I think that there has been an enormous reckoning for progressive politics, for so-called identity politics. Identity politics is finished. It has now collapsed under the weight of its own piety. This result buries it. The result proves again that these days your race is no more determinative of your political allegiance than the weather outside is. Most sensible people know this. And yet, more in the USA than here, big chunks of the political class have been operating as if the colour of your skin means you should vote only one way. The comments actually among some Labour MPs about people like Kwasi Kwarteng being superficially black, or Kemi Badenoch being a white supremacist in blackface. If that stuff belongs, if it actually belonged at all, in a completely different world. That is pre-2016 stuff. It is certainly pre-2019 Boris Johnson's political alignment and majority stuff. That race does not automatically define your political leanings is as obvious to me, and I suspect to you, as saying the sun rises and sets. But quite a lot of people shocked by this result still don't get it. How can it be, they say, that Trump's support among Hispanic voters increased from 32% in 2020 to 45% this time around? Especially when some comedian made a bag joke about Puerto Rico. J-Lo was campaigning for Kamala Harris, and Kamala Harris is not white. How could the Hispanics who went to Trump betray their identity like that? How can it be that women whose bodily choices are not their own now in some US states, how can it be that they came out more for Joe Biden in 2020 than they did for Kamala Harris in 2024? I'll say that again because it is initially, I think, quite confounding. Joe Biden had a significantly larger proportion of women turning out for him than Kamala Harris did last night. Kamala Harris, who is a woman, at a time when Roe v. Wade was overturned and he was running it against a man who was told by a judge in a civil court that he raped a woman. If identity politics worked, that would not be possible, the progressives say to themselves. How can that be? And the answer from those whose cognitive dissonance, if we want to use those terms, has blinded them, the answer from them today after this result is this. They say that the abortion issue didn't matter enough, that it should have mattered more to those women. They didn't get, these Trump voting women, how important this issue on abortion rights actually is. It didn't matter enough to them, they say. And I look at that and I think, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you to suggest that this issue or that issue didn't matter enough to the people whom it obviously most directly affected? You now have this unique position whereby progressively minded liberal men are telling women that they didn't care enough about abortion rights, otherwise they wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. And I really can't get past how utterly and deeply, distressingly patronising that is. Of course, the issue of abortion rights matters to women, but for the women who turned away from Kamala Harris and to Donald Trump, it's not that the issue didn't matter enough, because who the hell are you to say that? It's that the issue didn't matter as much as others, particularly the economy, and I suspect on borders as well, perhaps even the stuff about wars. If the progressive left, particularly the male progressive left, think that the lesson to learn from a completely humbling and pretty humiliating defeat is that female voters let them down because they didn't care enough about abortion rights, then they deserve to lose every single time. The next question that follows then is, well, why didn't that issue matter more than the economy or the border? And again, what I've heard today so far is that there are people surprised by the notion, genuine surprise in their voices, that a year out from this election, the topic of conversation among voters that they spoke to was not January the 6th and the insurrection or criminal charges or ideas about fascism. The thing that mattered was gasoline prices. Imagine that, they say to themselves. Imagine that they would put the price of petrol above notions of fascism and insurrection, that getting to work or putting a roof over their heads might be deemed more important an issue for them in their lives, and that what should matter more is what happened on January the 6th or in a New York courtroom. I would say that those are big issues. It is a really big issue about January the 6th and Donald Trump's convictions. It just wasn't as much of an issue as maybe, I don't know, having some money left in your pocket at the end of the month, or not having 1 million people come into your country illegally, or having children effectively experimented on by the state in the name of liberal progress. And just passing a word on that while I've got you, if you still think the question, what is a woman, doesn't matter, if you still roll your eyes at that, you're never going to understand. You're never going to get how this could be possible. My point is best summed up by my Trump voting family member. He's a college-educated, white-collar worker in a blue state. He's part of a multiracial family. He texted me in the middle of the night last night, and when it was looking more and more like Trump was going to win. And he said, normal people just want normal things. And which is, is that analysis or is that just stating the damn obvious? They're paid to go further and they want to be safe in their home. And by the way, you are absolutely right to say that an attempted insurrection from a sitting president, a convicted criminal, is a big deal. I agree with you. But there isn't going to be a time when those worries, particularly with what we've seen with inflation in this economy and for an incumbent government, is going to be a greater worry for more people than not when they can't afford a tank of petrol and they can't pay for the shopping. So the white woman who voted for Trump is being told not only did she let women down because she also voted Trump because he's white and is therefore fundamentally racist as well. Explain that to me, because I think this result ends identity politics. If you have women voting less for Harris than for Biden, when she is a woman, Roe v. Wade has gone, and Trump is Trump, it is completely understandable why some people feel a little lost about this result. Explain it. And do you know what? Let's start with talking to only ladies, please. Ladies, ring up and see if you can explain why it is that a female candidate at a time when abortion rights are under threat in large parts of the United States against a candidate who has said unspeakably horrible things about women and, according to a judge in a civil court, done unspeakably awful things to women, why her share of the vote among women fell. Because identity politics would have you believe that that is just not possible. Or you come to the conclusion, I think as that contributor did, that it's sort of their fault. You missed your chance, ladies.